So there I was yesterday morning. I'm lying in bed enjoying my sleep, and right behind the bed I started hearing this really rustling noise, and I thought it was a really big bird. And I peered through the lattice poles to see what it was, and I saw very close up the bottom of a baby elephant's trunk, just sort of lifting stuff.
First came here to the slough in 1979. The slough was unknown to most people. A couple of years later, in the early 80s, I worked on a trip that was crossing Africa by river. So that brought us up the Rufiji, right past where we are now. As we came through the section, I suppose I could say I fell in love with it, and it turned out to be all the rivers I saw en route. This was the nicest section. So the year later I got permission to come in here, and we basically cut a road in through the northern slough. You know, it's so obvious that this is a key location, because we've got, you know, you've got the river here, and then you've got the hills behind. The south bank is pretty well untouched.
Yeah, that is from Tanzania, that is the big one from France.
I started hearing all this rumbling sound coming round to the right of the room, and out of nowhere suddenly this baby elephant came round the showers and the bath, and suddenly appeared in my bathroom, and it was the most wonderful thing.
The lodge is fantastic. The ideal thing is to come and spend a few days in the lodge first of all. We were 3 nights at the lodge, then we came out on the 4-night walking safari, then we've had 2 nights back at the lodge, and we've had another night fly camping.
When you are in vehicle, for instance, you see a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But also jumping on the ground, be able to touch things, for instance, approaching animal, you feel a little bit sort of an adrenaline in your body.
I'll be leading this short, lovely morning walk. We will be able to see footprints, droppings again, and if you are lucky with mammals.
We normally get cracking as the first light, try and get out of camp at 6:15, and then walk until 11, find a shady tree, have a picnic lunch, have a siesta, read a book, and then about 4:30 get going. It takes you 2-3 days just to get into it, get into the rhythm.
Yeah.
And then once you've got that rhythm going, it takes on a certain time.
You get up in the morning at your camp, and then you walk to a completely different area, and you walk through different types of country.
One of the unique things about here is you've got the river, and you've got all the life that takes place on the river and on the banks. Then you go inland, and it opens up into open terminalia country. Then you go into the whole lake system. Then you go up in the hills, and you get the doom palm forest. So in one day of walking, you can be in 4 or 5 different habitats, and see different game in each habitat. It's always changing.
It's lovely not just going out and coming back to the same place. You walk to another place, you see another area. You're constantly moving farther and farther away, and it's just it's a lovely sense of seeing Africa.
You'd have to be super fit because it's not a route march. You're out there looking at things as you walk, and so you go, the more you see.
So it's not all about animals, but also feeling like, walking on the ground, where I sharing this path with an elephant and hippos and buffaloes. At the same time, you've got tiny things to see.
Want to kill any cat, you can apply it end of the arrow, and you shoot animal as well, and it clot blood. Like
even, let us say, mouse footprint, or where a millipede had been walking a couple of few minutes ago.
He was an expert guide, saw things that I didn't even dream were there.
That's what the water feeding on. On the kneeling down uproots, there's a bulb they feed on. It's a lot of moisture, a lot of water. A lot of animal plus human.
Showing the eco-structure below the ground, above the ground.
We had an amazing experience one day where we found the vertebrae of a giraffe, and Ren was able to put the vertebrae on top of each other, and you suddenly begin to see what's inside this beautiful long neck.
When this is a very much land country, you know where to look. Where you end up spotting something which is really hiding or concealing under the bush, and you get to know there is something there.
We got into some wonderful situations, in particular with lions. Rem had seen their spoor, so he followed. We were within 20 meters of one pride of lions which were sitting under a bush. Rem saw them in the bushes, and we came up behind them. They didn't even know we were there.
Every day you get the kick with adrenaline one way, sometimes a bit more than you want. And those are the lasting memories.
This baby elephant was just in the little courtyard right next to my bathroom. He was just minding his own business, wandering about, eating the trees, and made no mess at all. And there was another one just round the front that came to up to where my bed was. And yeah, so for about half an hour I just lay in bed listening to them rumble and sort of just eat and chomp, 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 and the rumbling sounds, and oh, it was absolutely blissful.
And sleeping under the stars is something really unique, rather than, it's not only, I mean, about walking, but being in the bush, and you know there is a lot of animals, for instance, elephant, hippos, walking, grazing out of the tent, you can hearing all those things.
In the fly camp, the way we set here, you'll have a room attendant, the waiters, and chef, and scout, and the guides. Mosquito net material tent. You just feel like you're outside, so you can see everything.
Unfortunately, you sleep like a log normally, because the tents are mesh, and you think, oh, I'll go to bed and look up at the stars. And you go to bed and it's morning.
But they can't even dream themselves they can be out in the bush sleeping with all those bugs and animals.
Yes, it's lovely to wake up and just step out of your tent and see the wonderful surroundings that you're in. And then the wildlife, especially when you're alongside the lake like this, you see the wildlife beginning to come in first thing in the morning. You know, the kingfishers diving and the sea eagles fishing and all the various birds of different species coming in.
Even as we're talking, there's a troop of baboons we can see sitting on the bank.
Being out in the bush, you're out in the wild, you're with the animals on their terms, and you have to respect their space. It is Africa as Africa is, and it's not managed in any way. You come there and you see it, and it's absolutely wonderful.
It's one of the last places where you've got a wilderness, and you've also got wildlife. There's hundreds of places in Kenya and Tanzania where you've got huge expanse of wilderness, but you don't have the wildlife on top of it, which is the icing on the cake.
I did get out of bed and I wandered to the edge of the bathroom just to watch them. And it was the most wonderful, wonderful start to my day that I think I've ever had. And a very magical experience to have them right there in my room, almost.